So once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Friday classes. Today's topic is going to be a little different from the topics that we have discussed so far. So today's lesson is interface analysis. Now, this topic of interface analysis is one of the frequently asked questions in interviews. So when we talk about interface analysis, a very easy way to understand interface analysis is to just split the two words. Okay, so what is the first word that comes in interface analysis? Interface. So we are going to take baby steps to learn this, because after a particular point, interface analysis gets a little technical. So I'm going to make it very simple for you to understand. So everyone is able to see my screens. So what is an interface? Let's look at that. An interface is defined as a connection between two components. A very simple way to understand, if somebody asks you what is an interface is a connection between two components. Now, what are these two components that we are talking about? Take a look at that. These two components can be user interfaces. That's number one. It can be business processes. It can be data interfaces. And it can be application programming interfaces, okay, which we call as the APIs. And it can also be hardware devices like printers or scanners that are connected to your application and sends a request from your application to the printer to print a particular receipt. Okay. So connection between two components, and these are the different components that can be connected to each other. Remember this. As I'm explaining, take notes, guys, so that you remember. And what is interface analysis? When we say interface analysis, what do we exactly mean by? And what is BA's role in an interface analysis? See, when you get into a project, okay, when you are new to a particular project, you are just studying that particular application, you need to use this technique to understand the interfaces, to understand what interfaces are involved in that particular application. So you might have gotten to that project midway, okay, and you don't know this application is actually connecting to which interfaces. So as part of your study, as part of that application study, you need to use this technique. The mention of this technique is also there in BA BOK. Extensively, it's mentioned interface analysis, but I've seen beginner BAs very rarely understand this technique or use this technique. Okay, but it is so crucial to use this technique, because that gives you clarity about how your application is working in an integrated fashion with other applications, other business processes, APIs, data interfaces, how the data is being exchanged. In today's world, understand, guys, in today's world, the applications that we build are not working in silos. They are all working in an integrated fashion. And when we need to understand what's the data coming in, what's the data going out, we need to understand these interfaces. Okay. So as a BA, now, the people who are a part of our capstone project, I had explained you when you had filled in the handbook. The new batch has not yet reached there, but the ongoing batch, when you had filled in the handbook as to what are the key things that you need to do when you get onboarded to a project, right? I made you write those steps, how you do knowledge transition, and what's the next step that you logically do, what kind of techniques you use. The first week we filled in a calendar. This for you to connect with your project. We filled in a calendar. First week as a BA, what you should be engaged with. Second week, what you should be engaged with, how you will do KT, and how you will understand the interfaces that are involved. Remember, how many of you remember that? The new batch has not yet reached. Aisha, your batch has not reached, but the old batches have done that. Yeah, Suptika? Yes. So when you do that on a practical way, you understand it much better. But for the new members, I'm going to show you how you will logically reach there. So when a BA is doing interface analysis, what are the key things that he or she needs to focus on? Okay. So when we are doing interface analysis, we need to understand what is the data that is getting exchanged. Okay, what is the data that is gets exchanged? When the data exchange is happening, where it is happening. In some cases, this is applicable where, why the data exchange happens, and how. So these are, like I call this the 5 Ws, the Ws that we have. Keep these Ws in mind, as well as the WH formula, where you need to ask these particular questions and take notes as to how, what, when, where, why, how the interfaces connect with each other, and the data is exchanged between each other. When I show you with the help of an example, you will understand this better. This is one example. Now here, what we have done is, the center portion is the application that you are working on. ABC application, just think about it. And now this ABC application is talking to another application. So in the left-hand side, you see one solution. On the right-hand side, you see another solution. So we have solution A, solution B, and your application or your solution is in the center. Now there are some inputs coming from solution A, there is some output going into solution B, and there are some messages coming back. Okay, that's what this diagram is showing. So if you relate back to the concept that I explained over here, it means that data is exchanged between user interfaces, it's exchanged between data storages, and also in the form of application programming interfaces. Okay. These connections between applications just work in the form, just like a plug and socket system, where they connect with each other and they exchange some information. If I give you a very simple example, let's take an example of a e-commerce portal. Okay. Now, each one of you have been to a e-commerce portal, let's say Amazon or Myntra, any kind of e-commerce portal. Now, each of these portals have certain upstream applications and downstream applications. So we take the example of an e-commerce portal. The upstream applications in an e-commerce portal can be any of the following. A product information management system, where all the product details are stored. So just think about, I would just want you to think about an e-commerce portal like Amazon. You know how huge that particular portal is. So product information management system obviously contains details of the products. And what kind of details will be stored in this particular system? Can anybody type in the chat window? What do you feel is some of the details that can come into this system? Visualizing a system like Amazon, a portal like Amazon, what exactly will be a part of product information management system? Product information management system consists of product details, like product ID, the prices, the name of the product, the description of the product, the image of the product, the reviews of the product, all of that product information that you see on Amazon website, right? And then we have the inventory management system, another upstream application. What does the inventory management system store? It will contain how much stock is included for each and every item, right? What's the stock, current stock? And when a new order has to be placed for that particular item. Supplier as well as manufacturer system. What will this contain? Take a look at this. You need to identify this. What exactly is the data stored in each of these systems? That's the reason I've given you a very simple example so that we can guess the data that's coming in. Supplier information will include the supplier details, guys. The name of the supplier, his information, his contact details, his address, yes, supplier details. What exactly are the products that he is supplying? What exactly are the products that is supplying? And if there are specific rates given by the supplier for that particular product, you'll see in Amazon website, how many of you have seen that for a particular product, towards the end, they have mentioned that this product is available at so-and-so price with so-and-so supplier and XYZ price with another supplier, right? So different suppliers give a different discount coupon for the same product. Okay, so that has to be stored somewhere, right? So supplier manufacturer system, content management systems, content management system that will contain the entire content of the website in terms of any promotional deals that they want to flash on the website, or any static information that they want to write about their own company, or any other details that they want to store as part of the content, you know. Then customer relationship management system. What does this include, guys? Any guesses? Customer relationship management system. It includes customers' information like the name of the customer, his contact details, his email ID, his number. Each one of us who are registered with Amazon, it will have our billing address. Payment gateway systems. Payment gateway systems obviously contain details of the payment that's made, the transactions that are made using that particular gateway. Then the pricing engine, which obviously, as the name suggests, the pricing engine consists of the pricing of the various products on the website, and the order management system. What is the details in the order management system? So if you make an order today with Amazon, and you later on log into your account and go to track your order, go to your account details, and you get a link, right? Track your orders. It gives you complete details of that order, right? All of that order information is stored in this order management system, where a unique order ID is generated, and all the products that you have ordered, everything is there in that. So we have a bunch of upstream applications, which we saw. And then we have a bunch of downstream applications, which is the warehouse management system downstream, which contains details of the stuff that's included in their warehouse. Logistics and shipping system, the things, the items that are out for delivery, for managing the logistics of those delivery, they use this system. Accounting and billing system, of course, used for the billing purposes. Analytics and reporting system. Now, this is very important. Tell me, analytics and reporting system, what do you think will contain? What kind of information it will contain? Analytics and reporting system. So analytics includes more of detailed reporting on which product sold the highest in that particular week or month. Different frequency of reports will be there on a weekly basis, monthly basis, which product in which category has sold the most, and customers from which geography purchase that the most. This is how this is the level of reporting that they do to understand their customers' behavior, their purchase patterns. So analytics and reporting dashboard, very, very important. And then we have the customer support system, where all the queries and any kind of feedback, any refunds, and all of that is processed. Then we have the loyalty programs. Loyalty programs, as well as goes without saying, those are programs for premium customers, prime customers, where you get specific points, right, for based on the purchases that you make on the website. So the loyalty program details are stored in that particular downstream application. Now we saw a bunch of applications which are a part of a system that we use very frequently, the e-commerce portal. We all use e-commerce portal to make some purchase at some point or the time. But how many of you actually, how many of us in this workshop actually knew that so many systems are integrated with an e-commerce portal? Tell me very frankly, how many of you knew that there are so many systems in the back end? Okay, because if we fail in interface analysis, then we'll not be able to identify our application's connection points, and how the data should be facilitated, exchanged. Okay, so even though you are playing the role of a functional BA, it is very, very essential for you to understand these. So what I said is, as a business analyst, although you are playing the role of a functional BA, it is very, very essential for you to understand these data connection points, upstream applications which are sending data, and downstream applications which are receiving data, because all of these applications work in a integrated format. In a very integrated format. And the key questions, remember, very easy for you. I've made it very easy for you to understand the key questions you should keep in mind when you understand these data exchanges. Yes, Joel, that's correct. Just remember with this abbreviation, 4W1H. Now I'll just show you how our diamond members, people who are newly joined us as diamond members, how you are going to do interface analysis after a particular point, not immediately, because the new batch has not reached that particular state, so you can't do it immediately. But I'll show you samples of how the previous students had done interface analysis. These are some interfaces that were done by our previous batch students, and they are like next logical step was to, after they create these user interfaces, they went ahead and identified what were the external interfaces. So user interfaces were a part of it, and then I make them do an exercise where they understand what are the other different external interfaces. So if you have not reached this stage, don't worry. Once you reach this stage, you will do these user interfaces, and each of those components that I put in the mind map in terms of the data interface, where you do the data modeling in SQL, you understand how the data interfaces will be connected. You will understand how the data exchange will happen between these user interfaces and those database models. Now, one of the batches that we just closed, they did an additional activity. Yeah, here, I believe you can see my screen. So the proposed database, how the proposed database will look at. So this was done by a recent batch that we just closed, the cohort that we recently closed. So they themselves had come up with these tables after they learned the concept of data modeling, after they quite after they did the UI interface analysis of the UI. So the mockups for this, especially for people who are working on the capstone project, you guys have just started off. When you design the mockups, that will be your first step. From there, things will connect to the database, which will be your data interfaces. Then it will connect to external interfaces. And right now, I'm not telling what is the external interface, because in the project, you have to identify what will be a couple of external interfaces that your application will integrate with. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of interface analysis chapter.